So here we are, the final countdown. After a painful month, we are nearing the close, but the hardest part of this challenge was about to begin. Over the course of this challenge, I have been catching every Pokemon I can, with one exception. If it's in the Pokemon Arceus game, there is no reason for me to catch it, as I need to catch them all in Pokemon Arceus to unlock the true ending. This meant I had to catch 241 different Pokemon all to unlock Arceus, and some of these Pokemon like Spiritomb and some other legendaries aren't simply just found in the wild. But to make things way worse, I also had to complete Pokemon Sword and its DLCs Crown Tundra and the Isle of Amor. This was a time-consuming challenge in itself, with the added bonus of Pokemon only spawning at certain times of the day and week. 3 days, 2 games, and approximately 400 Pokemon left to catch. Piece of fucking cake. Well, it will be, now that I can reveal my surprise of how I'm going to complete Pokemon Sword much faster. Over the course of this series, I have been catching some of the strongest Pokemon like Mewtwo and Kyurem. But to evolve other Pokemon that couldn't be caught, I have been grinding out through the Elite Four Pokemon like Sceptile and Kyogre. On screen, these Pokemon have not seen a lot of action, but now it was their time to shine. I was about to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I was going to show the people what they wanted. Legendary Pokemon battling it out, while at the same time using their raw strength to beat Pokemon Sword much faster than it would normally take me. I chucked them on my team, went straight to the first poor little trainer with his level 5 Pokemon, and realized immediately that I need to collect some badges before I can use them. So they won't get any screen time just yet, but don't worry, when we get into the later parts of the game, that's when they get to shine. Sadly, this means the first few gyms I have to beat legitimately. Thankfully, they are easy, but also making me slow down a bit. So now I begin this episode of Pokemon Sword, the Galar region being the Grand Champion region, full of stadiums for every gym battle and a tournament-style contest instead of the Elite Four. This is exactly how I imagined Pokemon would behave in our world. Exactly. We are quickly introduced to our rival, the champion's little brother, Hop. There's also a lot of other rivals that appear throughout the game, but they also disappear just as quickly, but are technically our rivals, so I don't really have a place to put them. For Pokemon Sword, we have to do another champion reset 3 times to get all the starters. Thankfully, it's not too long of a trial. There is a long walk through an abandoned forest, but it does not take that long once you get used to the path and the Pokemon. Once we have all 3 of our starters, we can finally pay attention and start walking through the routes. On the first route, there is a bunch of new Pokemon we haven't seen before, but we don't have any Pokeballs yet, so we have to pass them, but we do come back to catch them. The Pokemon caught through this are Squavette, Rookidee, Wooloo, and Nickit. Hop is very keen to get through this adventure, so he forces us to go through the places very quickly and chucks us onto the train to the wildland. Here is where Pokemon catching becomes difficult. Under a time trial. Not only are there a lot of Pokemon over-leveled here, so catching them is a bitch till late game, but all the important ones only spawn during certain weather conditions and certain locations while the blue moon is up and the planets are aligned with a supernova. And then, and only then, can you catch Gigalith, who would rather self-destruct than let you catch it. Fuck you too, dog. Fuck you too, you rock dog. We can't do anything really here yet because everything's over-leveled, so we skip here and head to the next town, where we are introduced to all of the other kids taking on the gym challenge. We also get a glimpse into the gym leaders we'll have to... I just died on your arms tonight. There must have been something you said. Bro, who's giving this kid caffeine? There are so many Pokemon in this game from all the gens, it's amazing. And I also have no idea of which ones I've caught, so there's gonna be quite a few double ups now. Ones I know I don't have yet are Corvisquire and Roly-Coly. A little bit further on the path, we reach the first town. There's a grass patch at the front that has Milcery, and then we go against the most iconic Australian portrayal I have ever seen. And he's named Milo. That's amazing. You just know this man's a G. Dynamaxing now opens a new door of easy mode. If you have a Pokemon with a super effective, you can take out an entire gym. Poor Milo had no idea what hit him. We pass through Route 5 and catch a Spritzy and a Galarian Farfetch, the only version that can evolve, and it's no easy task as well. In fact, there are a lot of Pokemon that are really annoying to evolve.
What are you doing?
I'm evolving Pokemon. Farfetch'd requires a bunch of crits in a fight, so it's with a few cheeky items to increase the odds. We luckily get it on the first try, but given the odds, this could have been one hell of a journey trying to get this one. The water gym is next, and there's an annoying button maze, but eventually we pass through the doors and meet... I just died on your arms tonight. The water gym really isn't that difficult once you can get a grip of yourself and focus on the battle. That's really the hard part. After the gym, we push through another mine shaft and end up on the other side of Motorstoke. We literally just did a full circle instead of just battling the fire gym. This challenge is cool though, because you can actually capture some of the Pokemon in the challenge, like Sizzlipede. Challenge is simple as well, it's just beating the trainers to killing a Pokemon so you can earn the most points to go into the champion trial. The fire gym for me is incredibly easy, but for some reason they go on this whole rant about how many people don't get past it and it's like one of the hardest gym leaders. Like, I can only imagine how stupid some of these trainers must be to not just go get a water type Pokemon. There are people handing out fishing rods all over this place, and the bikes can run on water. There are no excuses, people. Get a water type. Now our path takes us through the wild area again. Unfortunately, we still aren't strong enough to capture some of the Pokemon here, but that's all in good time. We push past a bunch of boring plot points to Route 6, where we capture Silicobra and a Galarian Yamask, which really has a stupid method of evolving.
Where are you going?
I'm gonna go find an arch. I'll make the trick easy for you. You get a focus sash, put it on the Pokemon, run it up to a really strong Pokemon, let it almost die, then you run away and hurl your ass over to the ridge it evolves on. The fighting type gym is next, and it actually has a really cool challenge where you put on a disc that spins, but it is 100% meant to make you dizzy before you fight so you can lose focus. I did replay this game to do Dynamax Adventures again and hunt shiny Pokemon, so I know that this gym leader is hard in certain situations, but for this run, I did kind of use my cheat Pokemon and it beat it pretty easily. The bitch never stood a chance against a level 100 Sceptile. Poor girl. We next travel into the Glimwood Tangle where I spend a good 20 minutes looking for an Indeedee. Eventually I get a headache from looking for it and give up. Fortunately for me, it does appear in the Crown Tundra, which saved me a whole day of looking for this 5% spawn rate, which apparently just never spawns. Next up we go to the gym with the old lady and a bunch of fairy types. The challenge is standard, you just gotta beat a bunch of trainers, but over time she asks you questions about her, about fairy types, and you have to guess. If you get the question correct, you get a buff on your Pokemon. If you get the question wrong, you get a nerf on your Pokemon. And against fairy types, taking an attack nerf is devastating. And then you finally get to battle her, and right when you think you're winning, this bitch just pops a question on you that's some really random thing about food and you're supposed to know. If you get it wrong like I did, then suddenly your really OP Pokemon has a stat neg, which doesn't really matter against this type of situation where I have god tier Pokemon, but that could have been really annoying on a legitimate run. Thankfully her team also doesn't have a lot of hard hitters, so it's just about tanking through the damage and hitting her with everything I've got. Now we have to go all the way back to where we were, and then go to the other side of the town. Also, we can enter Route 7, where we start catching the evolutions of most of the Pokemon we've caught at this point. Also on this journey, we catch Galvantula and Morpeko. Aw, he's such a cute little mouse. Hey, yo, what the fuck is that? Route 7 and 8 are combined, kind of, and they have quite a few biomes between them. Route 7 is the grass biome where we catch a bunch of the pre-mentioned Pokemon, and then it goes into a desert-looking ruins that contains Phalanx and Crustle. I'm not sure if this is technically Route 8 or if Route 8 is the snow biome, so I'm just going to say they're both the one route. We then merge straight into a snow biome as well, right after a desert, which is weird, where we can catch Snom, or it's apparently named He. I gotta spin for 5 seconds. Passing through the routes, this puts us directly in front of Serchester Town, where we get to battle the Ice Gym Leader. I think for the Dynamax adventures, it should have given the gym leaders a bit more buff, because I replay this game and do a legitimate run, and it's still just as easy to beat most of these gym leaders. I replayed it so I could catch all the legendary shinies because I caught a few while Dynamaxing, and I tried to do a legitimate speed run for it. I didn't get nearly a good time because I didn't do half the stuff you meant to, but I was still smashing out these gym leaders so much easier than any of the other Pokemon games. I discovered 2 types of strategies that helped me just wipe out the gym leaders really easy. Strategy 1 was to Dynamax really early and just one-shot all the early Pokemon, leaving it to a 1v6 where I just have to tank out the other one's Dynamax. The second, and my favorite, was to get it to the final 3 Pokemon, Dynamax my super effective, and then just watch it one-shot all 3 of the Pokemon before the gym can do any sort of damage. Now that we can push through to the next route, there are a lot of Pokemon to catch. Here are honorable mentions. Marine. Ugh. That one's gonna get me in some trouble. Cramorant, Clobbopus, and Thweevil. Holy emo. Is this where the kids who listen to Green Day live? This place is exactly what my parents imagined when they described my future when I didn't complete school. But look at me now, Mom, I'm making YouTube videos in some old guy's basement. The gym leader is here, but there's finally a twist that makes it a competition. We can't Dynamax here. I think it's because she's against it or something and the stadium's not set for it. Well, I presume that because she kind of just gives me that vibe of Pokemon don't consent to Dynamaxing, so I'm going with that. Defeating her though means we are 1 badge off of the Elite Four, and the last one is a Dragon Gym Leader, of course. This guy's been popping up here and there across the story, and I don't understand his character. He strikes me as a humble but also egotistical kind of person. I can't really get a grasp on it. Look, I did cheat with my overpowered Pokemon buff, but I'll give this guy some credit. Without these Pokemon, he is a very tough gym leader. Dragons are a tough enough opponent already, but his team is pretty dominant, and the challenges before him isn't an easy feat either. Also, what the fuck is his deal? He only has 50% dragons on his team. Why? Come on, Nintendo, consistency. I want all type gym leaders, none of this half shit. Now for our long-awaited moment, the Gym Challenge. A stadium-wide audience and a tournament-styled competition. This is exactly what I expect for future Pokemon games. We came into this tournament with the 3 starters, plus Sceptile at level 100, a level 90 Mewtwo, and a level 70 Zapdos. So absolutely none of this was going to be fair for the opponents. First up is the return of one of our rivals. Well, sort of. He got kicked out of the league and now storms the tournament by magically becoming a gym leader because he wore pink, I guess. He's all about them fairy types now, but really it's just an excuse to promote a fairy Rapidash. And look, fair enough, it's kind of cool. But I'm also really glad I have my OP Pokemon because I did 0 prep work for this tournament. So I actually had nothing against fairy types, I just won because I over-leveled him by such a massive margin. It would have caused a massive issue if I didn't, which would have really slowed me down, but that's why I did it, to save time, because this is a catch-em-all series. So remember kids, when in doubt, cheat within the guidelines of lazy rule writing. Once we beat the rival, next up is Nessa. I just died on your arms tonight. It must have been something you said. I just died on your arms tonight. It's all water types, thankfully, so it's just another grass type is her major fear, which sucks for her that we have a level 100 Sceptile, but not my problem. Now we have a rematch of Bear and her fighting types that hit harder than my uncle. The first 4 Pokemon aren't that big of a problem, but it's the Machamp. It's such a hard hitter, especially in Dynamax form. It persists in being a problem, but luckily I bought a Zapdos, and it's over leveled, so it's kind of a win with that one. Last up is the return of the Dragon Gym Leader, and this time he has more dragons. Good for him, taking a page in my book. I was actually getting worried for him. One more non-dragon on his team and he might lose his Dragon Gym Leader job. Without any dragons, this is basically a regular NPC. Next up is the champion, but of course there's some more plot device, so we can't do them yet. We have to go do a bunch of little errands because someone's trying to take over the world. So we head back to the spooky woods from Act 1 and are shown the items of the legendary Pokemon. Apparently there's a crisis back at the stadium and it's up to us, a bunch of 10-year-olds, to go help out. But don't worry, because we have a rusted sword and a rusted shield to back us up. So you go over to the Hammerlock and enter the energy plant, where surprise, surprise, the mayor is the bad guy the whole time. What? Now, for some reason, the fat fuck who walks around doing press meetings all day has some stacked Pokemon. Thankfully, they're all steel types, so just a cheeky little fire type, it's gonna end that whole thing. So I bring out my little fire rabbit and, use the power of firebending skills to beat him. But you're too late because the son of a bitch has summoned Eternatus on us. Dropped straight from the rip-off story of Deoxys, the dragon is here to destroy all of Galar. Luckily, the champion is here, and with his intense knowledge, he attempts to take down the beast. And did this motherfucker just throw a Pokeball at him? What the fuck did he think was gonna happen? Most legendaries have a 1.75% catch rate. Think, Leon, think. Luckily, we have some brain power and capture Eternatus ourselves with the power of the legendary dogs. Now that we have saved the world, we can battle the champion in a final head-to-head Pokemon battle. Winner takes the title of Pokemon Champion. And it is really difficult to describe this as epic because I just chuck out my OP Pokemon and say, fuck you, I'm gonna one-shot everyone. Look, if it makes you all feel better, when I did replay this game, he did whoop my ass. I had to spam a lot of max revives to keep up with his Pokemon, so he got his revenge. And I still beat him, but it was a lot harder than this one. So now we are the official Pokemon champion. All the glory and fame is ours, and we can wear a cape full of sponsors. But we have no time to celebrate, as some freaky looking twins have appeared to cause chaos. The post-champion story is short, thankfully. It's just about flying to each gym leader because each Pokemon is having a Dynamax stroke. It needs to be put down in the most G-rated way possible, so I guess we just battle it at Pokemon while it destroys half the gym. Throughout this whole story, the hair gel twins follow us, mocking us and battling us to prove that their rich dad is really just a failure of a father. Who raised these two? The story is tedious, boring, and really over-dialogued, but we do get the legendary dog, Zacian. Now all that's left is the Dynamax Adventures and the Isle of Amor DLCs. But I was going to do them later. I know this was a massive time crunch here, and swapping games is a bit of a waste of time. But Dynamax Adventures is incredibly roulette based for the Pokemon I need to get. And with 4 AI bots that have no idea what they're doing to fight the legendaries, it's incredibly difficult. Luckily for you guys, it's only 3 bots, but because I'm included in this scenario, it's 4 AI bots that are battling these legendaries. So we will come back to them after Arceus Legends. Now, I was warned that this game will take me a while to complete for multiple reasons. Firstly, this is a whole new style of Pokemon. Certain Pokemon are easier to catch depending on the ball you throw, and I have to locate every single Pokemon so that I can catch the final legendary Arceus. There are 242 Pokemon in this game, and some of them are not easy to find. You have Pokemon like Spiritomb in this game, where you have to collect about 100 wisps across the entire map, scattered everywhere, and then you go up to this child, and the child's like, hey, Spiritomb's over in this rock. Go summon it. Like, thanks, child. There's also a select few Pokemon that can only be found in the space-time bubble, so I have to sit in a region for 10 minutes for a chance of one of them appearing. I have to do this in each of the maps, and this could have been easy if I knew I had to do this, but because it was such a last minute thing for me prepping, I didn't know this until the end, and by that time I was just sitting around in regions just waiting for these Pokemon to spawn. The goal was to complete this game in 24 hours, and if I was more efficient and knew what I was doing in this game, this maybe could have been done in 24 hours. Actually, scratch that. According to the speedruns, this 100% could have been done in 24 hours, if I knew what I was doing. But was that going to deter me from trying? Absolutely not. So start the timer and let this 24-hour challenge begin. Mom, God took my cell phone. Oh shit, got to Pokemon. Checkmate, Christians and Buddhists and just about every religion. All hail Lord Arceus. So the story throws us on island, and luckily right next to the professor, cause plot armor. Next to him is 3 wild Pokemon that are our starters, Rowlet, Cyndaquil, and Oshawott. They run off away from us, and this is a cheeky way for us to learn the new catching system, which abuses my greatest weakness, aiming. These little bastards may run, but they aren't hard. It's the later Pokemon that we start to have some troubles with. Pokemon in the ocean like to swim in random directions, so it's really hard to aim at them when they just like to dodge our Pokeballs. And fuck me, are Sky Pokemon hard to catch sometimes. They may just fly in one route, but like, I have no depth perception of the curvature of the ball, so when I aim at them, it kind of just misses every single time. Like, son of a bitch, these Pokemon are hard to get. The professor takes us into the village where we learn that people don't know a lot about Pokemon in this one, and spend most of their times more in fear of them than actually training them and having them as pets. There's also this massive space hole in the sky, but for some reason everyone mentions it like it's just another Tuesday, so I guess we don't have to worry about that one. Here we are given on how the new game mode works. Instead of gym badges, it's research stars, which are used to access more items in certain parts of the map. We get research stars by catching Pokemon and using them to learn more about them by giving us points. Next, we are taken to the world to learn about Pokemon and complete the Pokédex, the second part of the tutorial. In this part, we have to go catch Shinx, Bidoof, and Starly. And for once, I'm glad to see there isn't a rat at the start. It was getting to the point where rats were just always the first fucking Pokemon I saw. The tutorial feels kinda long and time consuming, but eventually we finish it. Also, apparently we're like some god tier catcher already because no one else is able to catch 3 Pokemon in one day, but we are just because we're built different. There is a bunch more dialogue and plot points when we go back to the village as well, but then we can finally free roam and stop wasting all of our fucking time. First thing we do is just catch everything I see. I mean everything I see. At the end, I had to get rid of like 100 Wurmpools at the end of this, and that was only one of the many Pokemon I just spam caught for no reason. I did later realize kind of that this is research point farming, and it's a good thing I did this because midway through the game, it becomes a real grind to get any research points, so doing this early actually saved me a lot of time. The story quickly pushes us through the center of this little area, and look, we've passed about 10 alphas now, but this is our first alpha that we have seen. Thankfully, with all the other alphas, I wasn't stupid enough to go run in and fight them, because that would clearly be a dumb idea, you know, that'd be so stupid. Alpha Pokemon are just regular Pokemon, but I feel like they just watched a few too many Andrew Tate videos and decided to roid out and work out, ditch their wives and bully weaker Pokemon. The first alpha was clearly new to the whole Andrew Tate lifestyle because it really wasn't a tough fight compared to some of the other alphas. Some of those bitches are really roided up. They got some spicy steroids in this game. Completing this part lets us access the rest of this little map. Well, technically we could access the rest of this map, but I was a little bitch who didn't want to go off the path too early, so I kind of just walked to not that far. I bet there was a lot of Pokemon that would have made this a bit quicker, but I didn't want to roam very far. But I just beat up an alpha, so now I am built different and I am ready to run around this map. After a bunch of roaming and catching more Pokemon, oh by the way, since there are so many Pokemon in this game, I'm gonna just list off all the times I caught my favorite Pokemon on each of the maps. This will cut down the time by a lot, and trust me, you'll get bored of me naming all 242 Pokemon. It's gonna end up like the rap part of the Pokemon theme song. On the first map, my favorite catches were Breezel, Scyther, and Punny. Shit, this mummy could do whatever to me. Even if there were laws against the Pokemon, that would make it better. We eventually continue onto the next part of the story, and overhype of this century approaches us. My whole chat was prepping me and hyping me up for this moment. Get ready, it's Pokemon Dark Souls. Hope you got some Elden Ring practice. All this hype up, ready against this big giant golden Pokemon, and he's just running into trees a bunch. I can say for certain that this guy is not hunting me. He is hunting that missing chromosome. Look at this thing. So thanks chat for the hype up. Look, this is the first Pokemon, so I assumed it was going to be easy. But chat really sold me on this being a really difficult challenge. But I guess it gets really hard later. So I guess I just have to wait for that part of the game. Till then, I'm just left with all this disappointment. Now we can return back to the village and go let the boss know about our findings of the new Pokemon. And what did we learn? Well, we learned that some Andrew Tate fanboys are running around and there's like this golden Pokemon that are overhyped. But there's really not that much more from it. Now we collect our star and go into the Crimson Mirelands, and I'm gonna be straight up, I hate this map. Not immediately at first, I'm all about the swamp vibe and it has some of my favorite ghost type Pokemon running around, so it's pretty cool. But there is something that lurks in this map in the post game, something so sinister. It has become an unspeakable sin. But that's later, so I don't have to worry about that right now. I gotta catch a bunch of Pokemon before I can make it to late game anyway. Speaking of catching, my favorite Pokemon on this map was the Ghastly line, always a favorite. Then we have Toxicroak, Umbreon, Typhlosion, and little old Togepi. Oh shit, and Routes, I forgot that Pokemon was here too. Spiritomb would have made the cut, but trying to catch him was a bitch of all the wisps, so fuck him, I guess. On this map is where you first meet Volo. This nasty cunt acts charming and stuff, but give him time. Oh, give him time. He explains all this plotline mumbo jumbo, and honestly, I couldn't give two fucks because at the time, I thought he was just a random NPC that explains like part of the game. Oh fucking boy was I wrong. He tells us some bandits have stolen some little fragment on the wall, so now we gotta go hunt down a bunch of bandits. I guess they're like the Western style Team Rocket. Is this more of a Western era? I feel like it is. It gives me a lot of like Bronze era, but also like post like medieval vibes. I'm not sure where the kind of line is. I'm assuming by the outfits it's samurai. I'm assuming by the village it's samurai actually. Actually no, it's samurai. It's the samurai. After we get the whole thing back and give it back to Volo, we have to go fight another golden frenzied Pokemon. And look, the challenge didn't get any harder. I don't know if it was just really easy at this point, or if it was the fact that the year before this, I had beat Elden Ring 7 times, so I have gotten a lot of Dark Souls style practice now. So dodging, boss fights and all that, I've perfected. I've enhanced at this point of my time. By the way, I fully jinxed myself by saying this on stream, and I get screwed over much later. Now, we didn't catch a lot of Pokemon before the story, so I gotta run around and get my second star, but it wasn't too much of a grind because there's still a lot of undiscovered Pokemon, thankfully. And now we can go into the third map, the Cobalt Coastland. Alright, but let's be straight up here. You're gonna look me in the eyes and tell me this isn't just a POV of a man about to play tug of war? Yeah, I bet you can never unsee that one. There's a lot more Pokemon here than I thought there would be, but let's list off the favorites and jump back to the story. One of the favorites, but later in the game, is Manaphy, which I have a fun time threatening it and its friends. For obvious reasons, Vaporeon is on this list and you catch it here. I don't think I have to explain it at this point. Other Pokemon include Dusknoir, Empoleon, Ninetales, and Magmar. There's actually quite a lot of Pokemon to catch on this map, but a lot of them have really shitty spawn rates, so it's quite rare to find some of the ones you need, like Pikachu only spawns in one spot. Also, later down the track, there's a few legendaries here that we gotta catch. The story does make us go on this big route though, as we have to go chase down a man down south who's scared of ghost Pokemon, so then we gotta go southwest, go catch it, go up north again to go give it to him, and then we gotta go to the top northeast of the area, and there we reach the volcano area, and I'll give you guys a little trivial question. Guess where Heatran's hiding? I'll give you 5 seconds to work it out. Correct, in Dynamax Adventures. This map has a Frenzied Arcanine as the golden one, and admittedly I struggled with this one. The area is incredibly small for dodging, and he has a large blast radius, but the problem is me. Apparently I'm fucking blind and couldn't see half of his attack animations go off, so I just stand there awkwardly while he just attacks me for free. Once I realized I was just being stupid, it was pretty easy after that. I worked out where I was going wrong, when to dodge properly, and then I kind of just beat him. I'm pretty sure about getting hit. Actually, no, knowing me, that's probably a bullshit lie. I probably was on the verge of death. The only problem I have with this island is I was stuck on it for so long, because there wasn't a lot of new Pokemon on here, so it was a hell of a grind just to get to the next star. After about half an hour to an hour, I think, we eventually get it, and next up, we're onto the Coronet Highlands. Only about half of this map is unlocked. I mean, you can walk through the whole thing, but 50% of the Pokemon here are legendary Pokemon, so you can only really capture half the Pokemon, if that makes sense. So not only does it become a massive grind to get the next star, because we have to get more XP and we have less Pokemon, but it's a fucking tease, because once we do catch the legendaries, we start squirting research points like it's happy hour at a strip club. I'm starting to realize how many sexual jokes I've made this episode. Maybe the closer I get to catching every Pokemon, the more my V card starts to regenerate and the more prepubescent teenager jokes I make. Moving on from that anyway, my favorite Pokemon from this island are Magneton, Crobat, Misdreavus, and Sneasel. This one's purely on the list because it's funny to say Sneasel. Sneasel. The golden boy on this map is an Electrode, and why the fuck is it so much easier than Arcanine? Oh, so my dumbass didn't realize that I could use my real Pokemon for this fight, so I've technically been doing all the previous fights on hard. So now I kind of have a right to lose to Arcanine because I played on hard mode, and I bet you all didn't. I bet you threw out your Pokemon, you fucking pussies. The boss fight is done, and there is so much more story on this map, but before I can go to that, I have to go to the next map, catch those Pokemon, and then come back here where we get most of the legendaries. So here we are, the final map, Alabasta Islands, the snow biome. And what a fucking map. This one has easily some of my favorite of the game, and it gives me the greatest ability of them all. The ability to fly. Sorry, I mean glide, because why would a bird be able to flap its fucking wings for once? No, we don't get to fly in this game. The story's cool, but first we have to list off our favorite catches of this map, starting off with Lucario. I know I dissed him in the previous episode, but I did some research, and I agree with the Pokefans now. I didn't realize this whole time his hype up and announcement was from the movie. I thought he made a movie about him because everyone loved him, but no, the movie was his announcement, and that's sick actually. I kind of respect it a lot more. Plus, I found out his stats are just way overpowered, which is hilarious. Other favorites on this region were Glalie, Zorua, Gallade, and Bravery would have made the cut, but the fucker can't fly apparently. The story on this little map is to go onto a cliff, go across a lake, and then go into a giant building and climb to the top. To climb it, we have to solve what I call the Reggie puzzle. And I'm kind of tired at this point. This is 17 hours into the 24-hour challenge. So I was incredibly out of it, and I don't know how I managed to pull this off, but on the first door, without even realizing there was a puzzle, I kind of just, well, I'll show you what happened. I didn't read what the question was. So I'm gonna pick rock. Fucking I don't know. Rock, steel, ice. What a magical moment. The boss of this map is a giant Avalok, and it's really not that hard of a battle for a Final Frenzy Pokemon. Luckily the legendaries switched it up and packed more of a punch, but like, it was a bit of a letdown. But now that we had completed all the maps, we can go on to the important part. The story. Wait, what kind of challenge am I doing again? So we have all the maps unlocked, and basically the game becomes a legendary Easter egg hunt. First up is the lake trials. 3 of these maps have had lakes around them with a little island that contains either Mesprit, Azelf, or Uxie. Depending on which one you visit, they have an alpha you have to beat first, but then they appear and give you some cryptic challenge. Most gamers would have quit in this kind of questioning, but not me. I had a challenge to complete and riddles to solve. We can't catch them yet. We have to come back to these lakes after we catch Dialga and Palkia, so we just leave them here and then we come back to catch the little spirits. But once we do complete all their riddles, they give us this little red necklace thing, which we use to catch the first legendary on the top of Coronet Highland. The commander stops us before we can get up there and says, "You're not worthy," so we kick his ass and he's like, "Huh, maybe you are worthy," and then lets us through. I feel like the game just had to give him some sort of plot because he'd just been walking around giving us missions and that's it so far. Didn't have any reason to be here. Once we beat him and talk some sense into him though, we go up the top and Palkia is the first one to appear for us. Apparently, depending on which side you pick is the first one that appears. We have to quickly battle him and then catch him using the red necklace that was given to us. And catching it means we got our first legendary of the game. But now Dialga appears and just tells us to fuck off, which is nice. Now, I'm ready to run back in there and go fight him and catch him, but apparently the God of Time isn't enough to battle him, so we need to go get some ore so we can go make a new necklace so we can go capture him. It's a quick little plot anyway, so we go down there, we go back up, and we go fight and catch Dialga. Also, this is where I get confused. I thought the ending was when we caught Giratina. Apparently that's the second ending, and this is the first ending. And then there's a third ending of Arceus. How many endings does this game have? I swear to God, if a credit rolls after every legendary catch from this point on, I'm just throwing this game in the bin. But it's alright, now we gotta go through to the second ending, where we can get all the plates and catch the legendaries. And there are so many of them, but we kind of ran into a problem. And that was it. My 24 hours were up, and it was officially June the 1st. We had failed. All this time and pain, and we couldn't complete the challenge in the given time. Life commitments, illness, and trying to balance a regular job with streaming put a strain on this challenge. It was looking grim and dark, and I thought to myself, that's it. I no longer have a reason to keep going. I was so close. But then I realized I'm literally like so close. Why the fuck would I just stop now? No, I'm not gonna turn off my computer and go to bed. Well, actually I did do that because it was midnight and I had work in the morning. So I came back the next day, and then the next day, and then the next day, and slowly but surely we progressed through the challenge. First up, I went back onto Pokemon Sword and I gathered the boys. It was time to catch the legendary Pokemon and they were going to carry me while doing it. Next, we coasted through the Crown Tundra to catch Regieleki, Calyrex with a Spectral Steed, and Keldeo, the rainbow horse that's a bitch to unlock. Then we go to the Isle of Amor for Kubfu and evolve him. We picked the water type for this run as it was the closest for the tower and I kind of just wanted a quick run. And then we return to Legends Arceus to finish it off and catch the last legendaries. I'm gonna make it a quick little note here of like, we catch them all, but I want to point out some highlights of this. Volo is a cunt, first off. A cunt to battle and a cunt in lore. The initial fight is draining enough, but then this dude is like, you gotta battle Giratina with the 2 Pokemon you probably have left because we're about even in strength. And then the dickhead says, psych, he's gonna change into his next form, you have to battle him twice. This became an 8v6, 2 of the Pokemon are Giratina. I'll admit, this took me a while, a couple tries and a lot of max revives, but eventually we get to him, and we go catch Giratina after because he runs away and then we have to go find him again. My second note about this game is another Pokemon, and he's a fucking dog of a Pokemon. Enamoras. Holy fuck, I have never hated trying to catch a Pokemon more than this. This was worse than Suicune. No. Actually, this was on par with trying to find Entei and Raikou in Gen 2. It didn't take me nearly as long to catch him, but I got so tilted from trying this, it kind of adds up. It was so fucked and stressful. He'd run away, hit you with some tornado that jumps on you, and then he'd keep running away past where you could throw a ball. Also, thanks Prof for raiding me at this very convenient moment to have a whole audience watch me stress the fuck out while trying to beat a children's video game. Eventually someone in the chat gives me a hint of smoke bombs and it made it so much easier, but fuck me, catching this Pokemon was a bitch. Never again. Never again. After this only left us with a few Pokemon, so I had to go wait for some space-time bubbles so that I could catch some of the Pokemon that weren't available in the regular wilds, but after that, I was ready. I was ready for Arceus. Well, technically there were 2 more Pokemon I had to go catch before Arceus, but they don't count towards the catch-em-all for Arceus because they're exclusives depending on what games you own. These Pokemon are Darkrai and Shaman, and I was very disappointed with the Darkrai battle. This guy is like the king of hell or something. This was meant to be a big battle. I was expecting something epic, and I literally just sneaked behind him and threw a Pokeball, and that was it. Easiest catch of my life. Also, haters are gonna say that I caught him after Arceus, but that's a conspiracy made up by them to tarnish my amazing story writing, okay? I caught him before Arceus, and you can't prove it. So we did it. We had all 904 Pokemon. All but one, the god himself, Arceus. So we climb up that cliff, rise to the top of the tower, and blow the flute, ready to battle God. Why did nothing happen? Ah, shit, I forgot to evolve Porygon, didn't I? Oh, fuck, I did. There we go, we got him. Okay, now, where were we? It was time to take on the greatest Pokemon battle of all time and catch the final Pokemon, Arceus, the god of all Pokemon. Stories and tales will be written of this epic battle. The mechanics were strong and it took me a couple goes to adjust to it. Didn't help that throughout the battle my chat were making things difficult by spamming sound effects that just blast through my headset. But as we progressed, we got smarter, we got stronger, we got closer and closer to the finale until it happened. The screen went dark. And suddenly Arceus appears in front of us, and he gives us a small piece of himself that technically counts as the Pokemon. And we did it. We finally did it. We had caught every available Pokemon for the living dex. We had achieved my childhood dream. Duly noted, there are some event Pokemon that can't be caught yet because they're only during certain events, but luckily my boy Jax has had my back here. Since they're not actually catchable, we didn't think it was cheating if he just traded me his copies that he has. And then I guess I caught the Pokemon that I traded, so it counts as catching them. They're not catchable, leave me alone. This was honestly a journey for me. There was a lot of nostalgia in this. I loved every bit of it, to be honest, even through the insane parts. Playing through the old Pokemon games, playing through Sapphire, playing through it all. I missed Pokemon, and I loved it, every bit of it, no matter how crazy it may be. We had finally caught all 905 Pokemon. We had achieved it. My childhood dream of owning them all. Catch them all, and I did. I caught them all. What's that? There's an update. They've added Violet and Scarlet into the living dex. There's now an extra 105 Pokemon. When the fuck did this happen? In the middle of me starting this challenge. Oh, fuck off, Nintendo. What? I went through so much bullshit just to have to go play another fucking Pokemon game because halfway through my challenge, they were like, hey, that game you didn't have to play, it's now in the living dex. I'm done. I'm done. No, fuck you. I'm done. That's it. I'm done. I'm out. Fuck you. Fuck you, Nintendo.